All right, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to take a look at Morgan Stanley right after earnings. Boom, this stock is now making some moves. And I want to share with you some details as far as, hey, should we get into the stock? Should we stay out? Are you a long-term investor, short-term investor? It really just depends on that. I just want to give you some clear-cut guidance here. It's just my own opinion. As far as depending on your own personal investment length, right? Some people looking at things are on the long-term horizon. Other people are on the short-term horizon. So for you, you're going to have to take that into account as we check out this analysis. Okay, so Morgan Stanley reported not too long ago here as far as their profits and earnings. So you can see here's some news coming out. So there's a couple of different things when it comes to banks, because they're always reporting first and doing that kind of thing. So definitely this one, if we go in and check out the charts and we go to Morgan Stanley, you can see here the earnings analysis here was 1.99 estimated, but it's 2.08 actual. But let's take a look at things a little bit deeper and further out in time, because if we look at things more further out in time, we get a more clear picture depending on if you want to invest in it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and check this out. Okay, so let's look at this stock that was created in about 1993, I think. So it's been a while. Now this stock rose up very quickly and create a little bit of a high. So here's the cool and interesting part about this, right? Look at this high right here that was created, and look at this one. Now, yes, we did have kind of a split over here and a split over here, but overall, we are coming in to nearly the highs and attempting to break out past those highs here right now on this kind of 20-year period. That's kind of very interesting, right? So we're getting into the all-time highs with this coronavirus, all this stuff, inflation, but we're getting into those all-time highs again in the stock. So I will say on the longer term, this could concern me if it doesn't break past this, because it could just break it a little bit and roll over, and that could be trouble. But if it breaks it, comes back, retests it, and powers higher, that could be amazing for the stock. And in that case, a lot of banking stocks will also be going much higher as well. But this is kind of what you're looking for. If you can get a breakthrough here, you're going to have great long-term investing, great medium-term investing, and great shorter-term investing, because now the stock's going to start breaking out higher. But this is kind of like a 20-year period, right? Because it could happen this year, it could happen next year. It could take a little while of time, right? It's not just going to happen all in a day. So let's go into a little bit more of the monthly. So now that we have this kind of perspective, look at this. It appears like from a monthly perspective, like we're really already breaking out, right? So if you look at these trends and channels, we're already starting to break, and it's looking good, right? Here and here, but you have to take into account, are we possibly stretched as well? Because this stock has been grinding kind of at this angle, right? So here we've got kind of this angle upward, and now we're going kind of like that, and that angle is just phenomenal. And if we go at this phenomenal angle, eventually it's going to bite, right? So just the same thing that happened here or here, if you go too far too fast at a certain angle, it's going to pull back. That's just natural. Okay, so let's get in a little tighter now, like a little more shorter term, medium term duration. So one of the things that this stock did fairly well at was a nice little breakout here at about this, $52 range or so. And the stock continued doing well. So as we look at this, we had some good support around 30. We had a good kind of breakout at around 60 and, 57 to 60. And that stock continued to power higher. Now, what's been happening is actually we've got into this sideways motion. So if you really look at this stock, we're just really in a sideways channel recently over the last few months. So you've got resistance over top, support right here at 95, and that's where the stock's been trading. So 105 to about 95 is where the problems are lying, or you could say the pause. And I could see why we've paused, right? We ran up so quickly. Just looking at the stock chart, we've been running up very quickly, and now it's due for a little pause. So this pause could last, who knows how long it could last. But remember, we are still also in theory at the top. It's possibly stalling over that time period of 20 years or so, where we're stalling at those highs near that $100 level, which is also a psychological, mental resistance level as well. Even though we've broken through it a couple of times. You can see here's our 100 psychological support level, and we've broken through that level a handful of times, but that still plays in people's minds. We're over 100, it's a little expensive, that kind of thing. So that's where some of the problems could also lie as well. So anyway, as we get into this daily, you can see the stock climbed up, grind up, got into these highs of about 105, pulled back nasty with bearish volume picking up some speed. So could this be like the long-term investors dumping from, you know, many years back? Could it be like, hey, the technicals of it where we're started to be stretched and extended? Could it be just the market? But in either case, we got stretched here to this upside. You got a nasty sell-off, and now you got a counter trend bounce. So I think what's going to happen from my thought is we're going to get to probably about 100 for now. And we might reject it again a second time, because if this bounce starts happening with lighter volume, then you'll probably see a rollover. So be careful, because overall we've got resistance and pressure over at this top level. So that's also going to play a role. So even if we do continue to move higher, you're going to have some issues right around that 105 level. And that's where some of the issues could lie. So just be careful at these price points, because here at these price points, that's where you could get some sell side action. So if you're looking for a long-term investment and you're trying to nibble into this, you know, 95, maybe under 100 could be a good value buying opportunity as stock plays around in this kind of range, because it's going up, it's going down, you know. So over the last few months, you probably would have had maybe 5, 6 buying opportunities here from a really good value standpoint. But if you're looking at it, like if we're starting to look at more, hey, the longer term perspective, you are at that upper end. You know, here's kind of our little tidbit. You're still kind of at that upper end. And is the break clean and clear cut? Not fully yet. It could be, but it's not fully there yet. But this is a yearly chart. If we go in and we kind of go in, let's say to a monthly chart, and we start backing things up, like, look, it did clear it. You could say, hey, we cleared it. It looks good right there. And you could use this as a stop. But looking at this angle, we're still kind of stretched right there. So I'd say, I'd be a little more cautious. So my point is, in summary of all this, is that, look, the stock is a bit stretched from a longer term perspective. It's toppy. From a medium term perspective, you're looking at, okay, still a little toppy. From a shorter term perspective, you're actually looking at, like, look, if you're a short term trader, this is actually a fairly decent value, because you could pop a little to the upside because you're trading in this sideways range. But if you're a long-term investor, again, you're at those high levels. Not to say it can't break out, but you need it to continue to hold kind of some of these levels at around 95. You also would rather look at something maybe around the $60 level as a long-term investor. That's really another area to watch, because if we start rolling over and we can't hold this 60, okay, then that could be really trouble. Because take a look here, this was like $10, which probably not going to happen for a long time. But you're looking at this range right here, and that's where this comes in, is that price point. They kind of match together right around that 50, 60, about $60 level. And that's what I'm looking at, is that, okay, if longer term, watching that 60-ish, $65 price point. Here's another swing point, big time support. So if we get this pullback, watch those levels. And if it can bounce, that's when this stock could really start moving. But you're watching some of these key levels right there on that longer term perspective. On the short term perspective, you know, you're coming back right here, right around 95, 94. And as long as it holds there, then it should be okay. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this video analysis recap on the technicals. Feel free to check out my options trading videos if you want to learn a little bit more about trading options. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.